Fun. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful December the 10th, 2020. Rondo Deportes, bonjour, and a ho, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we've almost gotten through the week down here, and we're waiting on Thursday night football because we missed out on football last night. So once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. They don't miss out on anything any night.
No, they don't miss out on anything, especially leftovers. It's all fair, love, and war. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade. I'm telling you, Big C, it's called the standard of the world. They say never stop arriving, but I see so many of them cut us off on the highway. It's all fair, love, and war. Today's show is an amazing show. It really is a great day in the sports universe. So many great things to be grateful for. But I want to say also, all over the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV or you'll be staring at this picture. Man, I love pausing, Big C, but I will never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Big C, why is that so important to you?
Well, Charlton, our current administration has paused on our veterans here in America. They don't give a damn about them. We lose some 24 a day to suicide. That's probably even double now, Charlton.
Yeah.
During this pandemic, we're losing 3,000 Americans a day to COVID-19.
Wow.
And no one is going to create a vaccine for suicide in America or anywhere around the world. It's almost like a forgotten disease that hinders so many families, Charlton, across this great country.
Yeah.
We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. But so many of our veterans are mentally, physically, and financially destitute, as well as many other Americans are right now during this global pandemic.
Yeah.
And they've succumbed to suicide. And people have turned their backs on the service that they've given to this country. We haven't done that. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. So we need more Americans to make this a concerted effort. We know that the president just the other day turned down a 3% raise for our military servicemen and women.
Wow.
Because he doesn't care. He thinks there's two losers and suckers. And he's not going to allow them to get any more income while he's serving as president of the United States. So if he won't help those who are in active duty, you know he's not going to do anything for those who are no longer in duty.
No, he just won't. But we will do our part, Big C. 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can help our veterans get some help. We just gave you 3 opportunities to do that. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV, on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king, Barry Bonds. And when you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, putting people back to work just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it. Sports teams are trying to do it too when they're not on pause. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com. Want to also welcome in our department from the state of New Jersey, submitting loans with the Big C team. Also, anywhere around the world, Big C, open your cell phone. Don't say ho, ho, ho the way Santa Claus does. Just say play Big C Sports Podcast, and you'll see all of our apps pop up. And I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. And finally, I want to thank Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports all around the universe. Just like God said, let there be light. And light showed up. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll see all of our apps. And I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. Big C, I was telling you, sometime in California when you're driving, Cadillac has this new Cadillac Escalade, and it drives hands-free. But I think people got to realize you still got to pay attention to where you're letting it go to drive hands-free. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm not sold on the autonomous vehicles as of yet. I still like to have some say-so in which direction my car is going
Thank you.
the direction that I'm going to turn.
Yeah, I like having that too. I think people get a new toy and they want to go show it off, and they really haven't had the best type of driving skills as all fair and level war. Speaking of showing off, there's a lot of good things happening in sports, a lot of trying times also in sports, but Thursday Night Football, New England Patriots versus the Los Angeles Rams, this was just the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I hope it was a lot better game tonight. We know it's already underway, Big C. But in the meantime, you have, obviously, New England still has an outside chance at a wild card spot. It's all fair and level war. The Rams still have a chance to win the NFC West. Tonight's already kicked off. It's on the Fox and the NFL Network, and the Rams are actually favored by 5, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I was outside today, Charlton, so I had an outside chance once I left outside of my house. But, I mean, when you think about these combatants, I mean, you look at the Patriots. They've beaten the Rams the last 3 times that they've played each other.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the records, and always in the NFL, the records are not the true story of what's going to happen in a game. We know that the Rams have been on a hot streak as of late. They've taken over first place in the NFC West. But the New England Patriots are pulling themselves up by the bootstraps.
Yeah.
They've won their last 2 games, and without a fumble against the Buffalo Bills, this team could easily have been 7-5 and in the hunt for a playoff position in the NFC East.
Yeah.
But, who knows what the final outcome is going to be? We know that the Rams have an outstanding pass rush.
Yeah.
But is that pass rush is strong against the run? Because New England has become just a prolific running team.
Yeah.
They don't throw the ball worth a damn. They do run the ball. They will try to beat you up physically, and that's what they have to do against the Rams tonight.
Yep.
They have to get physical. They have to pound the ball against them. They have to hope that Jared Goff will make at least 1 or 2 mistakes in the game
Yep.
to give them an opportunity to overcome that.
Yeah, and Big C, that normally happens. It's all fair level war, but there are a couple of things to watch for, and you already mentioned one of them. You think about, how do the Rams stop Cam Newton? This is not the Cam that won the NFL MVP award when he played for the Carolina Panthers. The Patriots, their 4-1 surge, Big C. Newton's had more than 300 yards passing 1 time, and that's actually in a game they lost. They lost 27-20 against the Houston Texans. So on paper, he's thrown for fewer touchdowns, which is 5, than the Patriots have wins. Think about this. While throwing 9 interceptions, we know he just came off of COVID. He came off the shoulder issues last season. So how's Newton leading this team? He's still the quarterback of this team. Bill Belichick's still that Jedi mindset on the sidelines. But it shows maybe 2 things. We just saw the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson rush for over 100 yards and pass for, just about the same amount. But it's showing, Big C, that you don't have to really be a passing quarterback to win in the NFL if you can run, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, but running is a gadget in the NFL. It will get you to a point, but it won't make you a dominant team. When you look at the best records in the NFL, all of those teams have quarterbacks who can throw the ball for 300 yards on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes in the NFL. Eventually, you're going to run up against some teams with some stalwart defensive front. That's one of the reasons why the New England Patriots only have 6 wins on the season, Charlton. because they've come up against some of those teams with those stalwart defensive front.
Yeah.
You have to, at some point in a game against a good team, is being able to back off those linebackers in the secondary. You can't consistently allow 8 men up into the box.
Yeah.
And that's what New England has done. They have, when you look at the strength of schedule, there's nobody really been on their schedule that's been dominant that they have beaten. So, they've played up to the level of par of teams that they've beaten.
Yeah.
But the Rams are one of those teams that can play wide open offense. And if Jared Goff decides and he and Sean McVay, if they just want to outright throw the ball against New England Patriots, they can do that. I mean, they have an outstanding receiving core in Los Angeles, as well as a set of dual backs that get the job done.
Yeah.
And that's what the Rams have to do. They have to play their brand of football, not stoop down to what New England doing and say we're just going to play smash mouth football, but air it out. Let Coop and Woods get the ball down the field to the tight end angle. That's what the Rams have to do tonight.
Well, it may be easier said than done. The thing I love about a quarterback that's a run-pass option quarterback, Cam Newton, he hasn't been the greatest passer, but because he's very mobile, he's only been sacked about one time per game in the last 5 games, Big C. The team's turned the ball over just 2 times in that span. You have Goff will turn the ball over 3 times against a good defense in one game, Big C. They converted on 4 of 5 fourth down opportunities. It's the leadership of the Patriots picking up the 31-year-old former NFL MVP. So can the Rams stop the run mainly? Because it's not about stopping the pass anymore with this team. And I think something about Cam Newton, he gives you that extra option that even if you try to load up the box, you still got to stop him from running the ball, Big C. Think about this. In total yards allowed, the Rams, they lead. I think they're second in the league at about 4 yards per carry picked up. That means run the ball 3 times, you got 12 yards, Big C, even though their defense is very stout. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't consider Cam Newton a run-pass option quarterback anymore. I consider him just a run quarterback because you have to scare me if you're going to throw the ball. You got to get at least 250 yards in the game in the air, and he's not doing that. He's averaging less than 100 yards a game passing.
Yeah.
That's not proficient enough in today's NFL to get you into a championship mode. You talked about Lamar Jackson earlier. Lamar Jackson's running numbers are half of what they were last year.
Yeah.
And you see what the Ravens' record is, and even his passing numbers
Yeah.
are subpar compared to what they were last year. We looked at how hot Arizona was early in the year with Kyler Murray because he was averaging 63 yards a game rushing. His last 3 games, he's averaging 20 yards a game rushing,
Yep.
and they lost all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is not a threat. He played the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you could have went out there and beat up on the Dallas Cowboys as quarterback.
I thought about going out there.
I mean, you have to beat the big boys in the league. When you show me that you're doing this and it's effective against teams that have 8, 9, and 10 wins,
Yeah.
then I believe in your theory.
Well, think about this theory, though, Big C, because you said something earlier. You said if Jared Goff can throw the ball all over the field. Jared Goff, he had an early interception against the Bills and a turnover that led to 7 points when they went back east earlier in the season. I do think they were robbed against the Bills that first game. But overall, the Rams have 20 giveaways. They've given the ball away 20 times. The season's not even over. That ties them for 26 in the NFL, and you would not expect that from a number 1 team, Big C. But the Patriots have fewer giveaways and a slightly better turnover margin at +1. And I think that, it's impressive for a team that has a chance to get on the right side of winning against a team that comes in with already 20 turnovers on the season. We still have a couple of weeks left to play in the season. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at those Rams turnovers that you want to elaborate on, they occurred early in the season when the Rams were still trying to get off the snot. As you've mentioned many times, teams did not have their preseason.
Yep.
And so, Jared Goff trying to get on the same page as receivers. But when you look at those games where the Rams have had the turnovers, look at their point production in those games. Those weren't games where they were getting shut out or they only scored 7 or 10 points. The Rams were up in the 30s in those points in those games when they had those turnovers.
Yeah.
So they've had high offensive productivity, even though they've had the turnovers that unfortunately have cost them some games, but it still has them in first place in their division.
Yeah, but there's some things about Jedi Knights, Big C. The Rams are on their 3rd kicker this season after working through rookie Samuel Solomon, Big C, and veteran Kai Forbath. Matt Gray has already missed 2 field goals and thus far this season, And I'm telling you, there's something about Bill Belichick. He has McVay's number. I think you said that he was 21-5 against rookie quarterbacks. Well, he makes Goff play like a rookie, and he did it in the Super Bowl. I think, it's going to come down maybe to a field goal, in my opinion. The Rams' longest punt or kick return by comparison on the season is only 41 yards. If this comes down to a field goal game, that means that Bill Belichick, they just shut out a better quarterback, in my opinion, or at least better receivers, or maybe on par. The Chargers pretty solid receiver-wise. I don't think that Goff's much better than Justin Herbert, Big C, and they shut him out. And there's something about this coach that knows how to spot what a team is doing and take away their strong points. In the fourth quarter, by turnovers, Jared Goff, I'm telling you, this is a game that comes down to maybe a field goal, and if it does, it's hard to fly 3,000 miles across the country and beat a Jedi Knight. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it wasn't about the receivers last week. It was about the quarterback and lack of ability. When you talk about your boy with the Chargers, Herbert.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have a clue to what they were doing defensively. They had him all confused.
Yeah.
The plus side for the Bills, the Patriots, they didn't have to fly across the country. They spent the week in Los Angeles. There was no need in flying back home and then turning around, flying back again 3,000 miles. So their plan was to stay in Los Angeles all week is what they did. So they're acclimated to Los Angeles and the climate.
Yeah.
The difference in Goff and Herbert is that you have a quarterback that's mature, who has seen the Bill Belichick defenses before.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be enamored by what Bill Belichick is. He's not going to come in with smoke and mirrors and fooling. He's seen that before a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl. He's matured well beyond those years of losing 2 years ago, and he's a much better quarterback than what Herbert is.
Well, it's always great to see NFL football, and hopefully COVID hasn't shown its ugly head. I know a lot of players are dealing with issues when it comes to COVID, and everybody is. I think the only people that really beat COVID are the college football programs that decided not to play. But speaking of COVID, and I hope we have a good game tonight between the Rams and also the Patriots, Sean McVay and Bill Belichick. We'll see what happens. The young man versus the old man, if that makes sense to you. But I want to ask your thought. When it comes to NFL football, who in the NFL will have the courage to say that COVID spread has gone too far? It's like every time I watch a news program, they're saying that hospitals are filling up. In fact, in Northern California, where the Sacramento Kings used to play, they changed it from Arco Arena. It was Sleep Train Arena, and then whatever other arena they called it. But now they have Golden One Center, but they've made the old Arco Arena, which the last time they made the playoffs, they played there under the days of Chris Webber and Vlade Divac and those good old boys. They turned that into a COVID-19 hospital. Would you ever thought we would see that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, who would have thought that COVID-19 would be at the rampant pace that it is in America right now? The president lied from the inception of COVID-19 when it came to America in December, saying, we got one case, soon we'll be down to none, and it'll go away as soon as the weather warms up, it'll disappear, it'll be a miracle.
Yep.
He's lied about this and jeopardized American life. We're losing 3,000 Americans a day to COVID-19, and for all of those people who have felt that COVID-19 is a hoax and it's unbelievable, I've been one of those people who have had to deal with the disease, Charlton, and it's horrific. Everybody is not going to have the ability to get the therapeutics that the president and all of his friends have gotten because of the cost of them. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars for the treatment of that. They're not just going to give it away to the average American citizen. This is one of the reasons that Mitch McConnell is holding up the aid package for people for COVID relief. Because it would have that in there. And he doesn't feel that the American public should pay for the health of American citizens, even as they're trying to abolish Obamacare. But don't be blind or naive to the fact of COVID-19. COVID-19 is like a relative that has showed up at your house and you don't want them to, and you want them to leave and they won't go anywhere. They've taken off their shoes, they're sleeping on your couch, and you can't even sit down and watch TV. But COVID-19 is something that does not discriminate. It's going to attack Americans all over the place. Those who have money are allowed to get the therapeutics, get themselves healthy. The NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL. Anytime one of those players come down with COVID-19, Charlton, they have the therapeutics, they have the finances to make sure that those players and those leagues stay healthy. This is the reason why you don't stop at your play when you hear about COVID-19 in the professional ranks.
Yeah.
So the people with money will survive COVID-19. It's unfortunate the people without money in America will not survive COVID-19. And we're up to losing 3,000 Americans a day to COVID-19. I remember when they were talking about a couple dozen a day. And when the horrific number hit 1,000 deaths in America, then all of a sudden 10,000 deaths in America. Charles, before this month is over, before Christmas is over, we'll probably be at 350,000 Americans dead from COVID-19. And it's continuing. Even though they secured a vaccine or several vaccines, you don't have enough vaccination points to vaccinate Americans. How do you get the needle in Americans' arms? So you'll keep seeing these field hospitals popping up all over America because this is what we are now in a country. We are destitute as a country. We are desperate to survive, and our American government, as it exists today, turned its back on America.
Yeah, it has turned, not the whole government, but Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell and those knuckleheads.
Charles, that is the whole government. When you talk about the President of the United States and you talk about the Senate Majority Leader, that is the government of the United States. You tell me what in the last 6 months has been done for the American people that those two people have not blocked.
Yeah, but they're still not the whole government. We're not a totalitarian system.
Okay, who can override them? Tell me, you say they're not the government, who can go in and sign the stimulus bill? Who can pass a stimulus bill other than those two?
Well, as I said, we have a House and a Senate, Big C, and the President. They don't run it by themselves.
Can the House pass the stimulus bill? Yes, they did. Can Mitch McConnell bring it to the floor or refuse to bring it to the floor? Yes, he can, and he refused to bring it to the floor. Does Donald Trump sign an emergency executive order to help out America? He has the ability. Has he? Hell no. So Mitch McConnell says we're not going to give money to the American people. Donald Trump said, I don't give a damn about the American people because they didn't elect me. So tell me who has the power to pass a bill and give money and funds to the American people.
The American voter, and if you pay attention to what's happening down in Georgia.
We just voted. We had an election.
Okay.
That was 30 days, 35, 40 days ago. Has anything happened for the American people since then?
Yeah. We just got a president-elect, Joe Biden. I think.
No. I'm saying what type, and I'm going to ask you a direct question.
But do me a favor. If you ask me a question, will you let me answer the question? Because
financial aid has been given to the American people in the last 6 months, and who has fought and blocked all that?
Okay, but if you ask me a question, will you give me the chance to answer without cutting me off as soon as I open my mouth?
Question first.
Okay.
What has the American public received in the last 6 months through Mitch McConnell or Donald Trump, the two Republicans who control America today?
It's just like having a baby, Big C. It doesn't happen during conception. It's a process.
So, all of the Americans who die since the last 6 months through the next 60 days before Biden can take over office and hopefully get something passed, this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about what's hopefully down the road. We're talking about what's going on now, because the Americans who are desperate, who are standing in food lines, who are getting eviction notices, they're asking about what's going on now, not what's going to happen in 60 days.
Well, fortunately, we do live in a democratic society where people can vote, and it doesn't always happen as fast as people want things to do, but it does happen, and that's why we had a presidential election, Joe Biden. It's not going to happen overnight. Neither does childbirth happen overnight. Conception takes about 9 months for a baby to show up.
COVID-19 deaths happen all day long, 24 hours a day, 3,000 Americans a day, COVID-19 deaths. So, but the point I go back to, that those Americans who've been struggling for the last 6 months, which is not overnight, not the next day, for the last 6 months, and they'll still struggle for the next 2 months, minimal, because Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell refuse to pass anything. And even when Joe Biden comes into office, if they don't win in that Senate runoff down in Georgia, Mitch McConnell's still in power. How do you persuade Mitch McConnell to change his ideas from what they've been for the previous 8 months?
I guess you should listen to Stacey Abrams. They're not running around afraid. They know there's challenges, but they've already put plans together to get people out to vote. And if people don't vote, then nothing changes. But it's not for the cynical. It's not for the people who are afraid. We're the land of the free, the home of the brave. It's not always easy for anybody. Everybody goes through things, especially African Americans. It's hard to say that in the 400 years of slavery and Jim Crow and even segregation that African Americans have had it easy, but we still rise, and we always will. We've been through some of the toughest times in the history of this country. So I know that things are going to change, but it takes 400 years to get here. Another 60 days or 40 days, it's just a process, Big C, but people have to go through that process, and that's the best advice I can give. But we're not dependent on Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell. If that were the case, why even vote? But they don't have to vote. But I do want to get back to the NFL before we come up on the pause, because I was asking you who in the NFL, like I was asking you yesterday about Coach Krzyzewski at Duke, who in the NFL will say that COVID has gone too far? Is it Roger Goodell? Is it the owners? Or is it the players that are willingly going out playing, irrespective of what you think about 3,000 people a day losing their lives? Mix your thoughts.
Well, I don't think that anybody has the gall to sit up and say that the NFL has gone too far, because we've all witnessed it as the American public. But it comes down to the sports fan, that dire need to have that fix. And they don't care. They're not sacrificing anything to sit at home and watch a game on television. As I just spoke about earlier, the NFL has the money when a player gets sick to pay for the therapeutics to keep them from going into the same type of lack of medical situation that the average American goes through. You saw when Donald Trump went into the hospital, the therapeutics that they used for him, as well as all of his friends who have caught COVID-19. Those amount of therapeutics are available to the NFL owners also, because half of them are Donald Trump's friends. And so if a high-priced NFL player comes up with COVID-19 and they need to go into the hospital, they're going to give them those therapeutics, Charlton. This is the reason why they're able to get back out on the field.
Yeah.
Because those therapeutics cost close to $100,000 is what they're giving the person. They're not going to give that to the average American citizen. It comes down to the financial class that we're in now as Americans. Do we live or do you not live?
Yeah, and I know it's a tough call for a lot of people, Big C, but when it goes back to the NFL, who has the courage to say it, as long as, I think for most broadcast companies, some are actually going to stadiums. They're standing about 6 feet apart, and they have that plexiglass between the analyst and the play-by-play person. And then some guys, they're doing a game and they're in their home. They're in their home offices, and however they're using technology with TV, they're making it happen that way. But once again, the NFL offers a mirror of society to take a good hard look at itself. And once again, we've demonstrated that we'd rather not. And I think part of it, they may call it fatigue. People get tired of saying, don't do this, don't do that, and you turn your back around and somebody does it. But if the players are not walking off the field because they feel they're bulletproof, or maybe they have access to the help that they need, the therapeutics, Big C, they're always going to play the game, because it's always about the money when it comes to making money in this society, whether we have COVID or not, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's about the therapeutics. That the players understand they have that safety net, that they have better medical technology than the average person on the street is going to have accessibility to.
Yeah.
The NFL will spare no cost when it comes to medical treatment of players. And that's part of the collective bargaining agreement that they agreed to when they agreed to play the season, is that they would spare no expenditures when it comes to cost for medical therapeutics.
Yeah.
And so the NFL is not going to feel that they're going too far, because they know there's cutting-edge technology that the layman American sports fan cannot afford. But the NFL can't afford it. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry with billionaire owners, and they're going to protect their investment just like anything else. Those therapeutics, they buy insurance policies to pay for those therapeutics.
Yeah. Well, Big C, I'm going to come up on the pause, and I'm going to come back from the pause, and I think you give the NFL too much credit, because if it's college sports, you say it's the parents. If it's professional sports, you say, when is the NFL going to do something? Well, what about the players that are getting paid millions to do nothing? I mean, that's a really play. We'll take the Big C pause. When we come back, we're going to do what Arnold Schwarzenegger says. We'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I also want to thank Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said, let there be light. Just open your cell phones and say, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You know, it's an interesting thing. I love NFL football. I think it's my favorite sport. NBA basketball, I love it too. I love track and field, boxing, MMA. I love a lot of things. They all have to pass, I guess, a health checkup, or what's called in boxing a blood test, to see if they have drugs in them. And I don't know how some MMA guys can't have something in them to take the punishment they take, but some things are detectable and some things are not. But when you think about the NFL, and you're saying who's going to step up in the NFL and say enough is enough, when you think about it, Big C, the NFL really hasn't handled consistently domestic violence. There's a knucklehead by the name of Vontaze Burfict. He's just been charged with domestic violence. We know the guy that they were begging to get to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he just came off with some issues. Everybody has issues, and some people have issues and no one knows about it. But when it gets so bad that even law enforcement shows up and they still beg for a player to play on a team anyway so they can win a game, they don't care about those women who have their butts whipped or beaten up or choked out because they want to get the guy out there to play football again. So how do you put so much faith in hoping the NFL will step up more than the players, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, like I said, the NFL covered his butt. They bought an insurance policy on COVID-19. They bought an insurance policy to pay for the therapeutics if players came down with COVID-19 and needed to be hospitalized.
Yeah.
The NFL covers itself. Everything that happens outside the realm of what they can control, care about. So, I mean, you bring domestic violence into the scenario. Domestic violence is not part of the NFL. It is a societal problem.
Yep.
Players just have to be employed by the NFL.
Right.
The NFL does not create domestic violence. The NFL does not create COVID-19, but they can buy an insurance policy against COVID-19. They also have an insurance policy in a player's contract against domestic violence, saying your butt's going to get cut if you beat up a woman. So that's how they protect themselves.
Yeah, and we know if you beat up a woman, you only cut for a couple of months, or maybe about one team and shipped off to another team. We've seen that all over the place, but it does happen in society more so than in the NFL. It's just not known. It happens every 20 seconds. It doesn't happen in the NFL every 20 seconds, but when a star player does it, and no one should ever do it, then it's all over the news. It's not over the news when Joe Blow does it to his wife in mainstream America. But CTE, we talked about CTE in the past, the settlement with CTE, or even when you deal with Colin Kaepernick's blackballing, the NFL has been clumsy in its policies regarding the national anthem protests. A lot of these white brethren, because they were the white guys, except for maybe a guy like Jason Whitlock, all of them are white. I mean, from everyone that you see on Sunday and even some Saturday broadcasters, they were saying that Colin Kaepernick, he's anti-American. No, he was anti-killing black people. And that upset a lot of white Americans that he wanted to say stop killing black Americans. So they've mishandled so many things. What makes you think they're going to get anything right now, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, they're not trying to get anything right. The only thing they're trying to get right is that the paychecks come on time.
Yeah.
That's all that's right to the NFL. This is a money-making entity, just like any corporation in America. It has an expendable commodity that it utilizes, and it turns it over year after year. When you see players get hurt during the game, you think they don't have somebody to fill that position, Charles?
Oh, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They have a stockpile of commodity that they use over and over. You get it, you as well as a lot of other fans, you'll fall in love with big name players. The NFL, yes, they appreciate their big name players because it helps them with marketing.
Yeah.
But if you look at the lineups from 10 years ago in the NFL and look up the lineups in the NFL, how many players are still in existence in the league from 10 years ago till today? Not many, Charles. Probably about 20% of those players that were in the league 10 years ago are in the league today.
Yeah.
That's how much the turnover volume is in the NFL. The only thing that's consistent in the NFL is that they're going to have the most lavish stadiums around.
Oh, yeah.
The owners are going to be billionaires. and they're going to keep their product on the field regardless of what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the money, Big C. They got to get the money, and they couldn't care who they happen to lose. Kind of like war. Old men send young men off to war all the time because it's not their butts on the line. Donald Trump understands what that means, Big C. You know, as a younger person, maybe more idealistic at times. Even so, I'm still idealistic. I don't have gray hair because I shave, Big C. I don't think I'd have gray hair anyway. That's just my genetic makeup, I think, Big C. At the same time, I think people will get what they want to get. It's just like the story we talked about yesterday. There's a person down in Las Vegas in COVID-19 where they say social distancing, don't share spit. I know some person was licking jello out of some woman's belly, and people do what they want to do. I'm not naive about that. But sometimes people were just willing to do whatever they want to do, no matter what the cost be. The oldest profession in the world has not slowed down because of COVID-19. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, when you look at sporting events when they're put on television, Joe, I don't see people, putting that sporting event on pause. No, they put their life on pause to get to that sporting event.
Yeah.
So prioritizing in America is all about sports.
Yeah.
Sports is a priority. Even in this pandemic, you got thousands of Americans dying a day. Hundreds of thousands of Americans becoming infected every day with COVID-19. But everybody is sitting around talking about sports must go on. And it's not the NFL prioritizing sports, Charlton. It's not the NFL or the college football prioritizing. You know who's prioritizing it? It's called the broadcast network.
Yeah.
They prioritize it. They demanded that these leagues put these events on, and they will pay them to do it. It's supply and demand. We have a bunch of money over here. If you want that money, then you put the product out there on the damn field.
Yeah.
We don't care who gets it. We don't care who is not there to play. We don't care if the game is delayed. The game eventually will be played. You're not going to cancel it on us, especially the NFL.
Yeah.
College football, so much, canceled some games, but they still, for the most part, played the games.
Yeah.
The NFL has a 100% product production going on right now.
Yeah.
And they do it for the money. You watch this college basketball as it gets going. How many games have been canceled already in college basketball? You realize 32% of the games that have been scheduled already in college basketball have been canceled. 32%.
Yeah.
We're talking about a season that's 2 weeks old. 32% of the games have been canceled already. Wait. Oh, the NBA is coming? Yeah, the NBA is down the road. How will the NBA dodge this? It's like putting a balloon on a dartboard and says, don't nobody hit it. Because that's what the NBA is doing. Gary Bettman has already put his foot down in the NHL. He said, okay, this is how the NHL is going to be played.
Yeah.
We have 7 teams in Canada. Those 7 teams in Canada will play each other throughout the season. The teams in the U.S. will play each other throughout the season. They will not cross the borders in playing each other. The NHL has gotten it right. They said, we're not going to let our Canadian teams go down to the U.S., nor are we going to allow our U.S. teams to come to Canada.
Yeah, that's because, like I was saying before, sometimes you say the parents got to be the bigger person in college, and sometimes you'll say the league has to do it. I like what the NHL did. I like what Canada did. They said we're going to put health first, and who cares about you guys that want to go out and play sports? And I appreciate that because it keeps a lot of people safe. And when you're in Canada, you can have the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger. It comes with exotic meats, and it goes great with the Big C burger. Big C, order the Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, and it goes great with the Big C burger. You can have that in Canada. Canada also starts with C, if that makes sense to you. And speaking of some things, I think it's so important because we talk about COVID. You know, we cover sports too. We're not stopping just because of COVID. Sometimes you got to educate people. At least that's what I want to do. I don't want to be like the other shows that just argue about who's bigger, stronger, and faster. But I want to ask you a personal question if it's not too personal. And I want to tie it into a football player that just came out with some information too. NFL football, Arizona Cardinals Hall of Famer, Larry Fitzgerald will be a Hall of Famer. He's still playing now. He talks about COVID and how he had dealt with COVID over Thanksgiving. And the thing that, even he's a multimillionaire, he'll never run out of money unless he meets some of those guys from Las Vegas that say, hey, I got a good deal for you. And the main thing with Larry Fitzgerald that I want to get your answer to, I've been tested for COVID. I have never tested positive for COVID, but I know it may be a matter of time. It's like saying I never caught a cold. I've caught colds before. But Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, he said the scary part about having the COVID was the lack of answers. even though he's healthy now, Big C, and as you mentioned, the therapeutics, but it's about that mental health thing that we talk about on every show, not just for veterans, but for anybody in society. He's 37 years old. He was on the reserve COVID-19 list on Thanksgiving, and he started feeling some symptoms. 2 days later, they continued through the weekend into that Monday. He said the scariest part was that nobody really has an answer for what's going on, but he does feel better now, Big C. Your thoughts?
Charlton, we're in a country that does not have answers for COVID-19. You think about this, the American public has been let down from day one from the administration because they had no plans, no explanation for COVID-19. It was flying by the bootstraps. Oh, you'll get over it like a cold.
Right.
That's a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
It is a long, lingering disease when you get it. We call it long haulers, what we are. Long haulers who have had it. Because when you think about the myocarditis that comes from it, Charlton, the heart scarring, when you don't have the lung capacity any longer that you once had, fatigue becomes a part of your life. You become very lackadaisical, mentally and physically. It is very troubling. And when you talk about not having the answers, that is troubling because you don't know when you go to sleep if you're guaranteed to wake up or whether you'll just drop over during the day. It is very draining mentally and physically.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys who get it and they're out playing football again. And a part of it's just how people look at things too. Some people get afraid when they hear a sneeze. Others go through things. I have a pastor friend of mine.
Well, no, it's not, Charlton. I mean, people get colds every day. But think about how many people die from the cold, the common cold. This disease affects everybody differently.
Yeah.
So you can't use that comparison where people got it and they're back out playing sports. No, because think about the 3,000 people that's dying a day in America. They got it also. But think about the 100,000 or so that get it every day and don't die.
Yeah.
You cannot compare it that way just because somebody got over it and went back out and played sports, because there are people who can no longer play sports that have gotten COVID-19 also.
Yeah, but you got to look at both sides. I mean, you can always look at the macabre side and the negative side. That's fine. You have the right
what
to.
Do you say to the person, Charlton, that can no longer participate athletically because they've gotten COVID-19? That's not being macabre. What do you say to them?
I say, look at the guys who make it through, just like the doctors.
No. You're missing the point. I'm going to ask you a specific question. What do you say to the person who has caught COVID-19 and not being macabre, who can no longer participate in athletics because they've had myocarditis or some other ailment, Charlton, that now will not allow them to pass a physical?
Well, people go through different things in life, Big C, whether it's blood pressure or what. I did answer, but you don't listen. You don't listen, so answer your own question if you won't listen to my answer. You ask a question, and I go to answer, and then you start talking. If you could just talk and give your own answer. I just told you. Everybody has something different to deal with. Everybody goes to a doctor if they can, and people are affected with illnesses. That's why they have medication. I have high blood pressure. There's certain things I should not do because of blood pressure. And I thank God that my doctor told me what not to do. At the same time, what I would say to people who are dealing with COVID or even high blood pressure, there's a lot more people with high blood pressure than there are with COVID-19, Big C, and that's a fact. But I would say to those same people, talk to your doctor and see what's medically reasonable to do. Don't listen to someone on a sports program like myself, but talk to your doctor. That's what I did. So that's what I would say to those people that get COVID-19 and they can't play a freaking sport. I would say talk to your doctor. Does that make sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, like I said, I was asking, what do you say to the person?
I just told you, talk to your
who
doctor.
can no longer participate in the sport because COVID-19 has altered their lives.
What do you say to the
person? I would take it different on the high blood pressure and COVID-19 because more Americans and people around the world are afflicted with COVID-19 than they are with high blood pressure.
Well, maybe you know more than my doctor, but more people have hypertension than they do COVID. COVID's new. High blood pressure has been around for years. And a lot of people who don't get treated, they pass away from it before it destroys their organs. It destroys the organs first because they don't get it under control. And there's a lot more people suffering from that than there are with COVID-19. And there's a vaccine on the way for COVID-19. There's no vaccine on the way for high blood pressure. There's only treatment. But again, talk to your doctor. That's my opinion. It doesn't affect everybody the same way, Big C. There's a guy with the Chicago Bears. He is a DeAndre Carter, and he's placed on the COVID reserve list. As you talk about players that get it and they can't play, he's probably going to play again. NFL football, Pittsburgh Steelers, they add linebacker Vince Williams. to the COVID reserve list. He's probably going to play again. Cam Newton was on COVID-19. He had COVID-19 for the Patriots. He's playing again. Lamar Jackson had COVID-19 for the Baltimore Ravens. He's playing again. So it's not macabre for everybody. Just like blood pressure, everybody deals with it differently. But I still say with that, you got to talk to your doctor. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not going to be negative for everybody involved. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, nothing is negative for everybody involved, but I think about those people who have been afflicted.
Of course
and
we
their
do.
lives have been altered.
Yeah, of course. I got a friend of mine, I'm not giving out his name, but he's 50, and he has prostate cancer. I was feeling all sad. He said, don't worry about it, man. I got to my doctor. They're treating me. I mean, isn't that amazing? Because of medical science, that's why it's important for everyone to get their checkups and not just sit around watching sports all day. That's my opinion. Denver Broncos defensive coordinator, his name is Ed Donatelli, Big C. He returns to the field after a battle with COVID-19. He's an older man. That's great news for a lot of people. Not everybody's going to struggle. We have good and bad that happens in everybody's life. We all go through good and bad. But the light at the end of the tunnel is the people who've made it through. Just like you didn't pass away from it. I mean, to me, instead of saying why it's so difficult, why not talk about the good things that happen? So when people come across it, like my friend with the prostate cancer, he's not sad. He got the medical treatment. I think it's more important to share people who survive it, what they did to survive it. I think that's what Larry Fitzgerald was talking about, Big C.
What I did to survive it, Charlton, and I'm thankful that I survived it, total of 30 days in the hospital, 2 rounds of surgery. I mean, I'm pretty blessed. I'm grateful that I had health insurance to be able to allow my body to go through that, Charlton. But those Americans who don't have health insurance, those Americans that the Senate is trying to take away the Obamacare from, they're not going to be as fortunate, Charlton. The biggest thing with Americans who have not been able to survive COVID-19, Charlton, is they haven't had access to proper medical care. We can talk about every NFL player who has contacted COVID-19 and they've been put on the COVID-19 reserve list. It's the point I made earlier in the program. They have access to those therapeutics, Charlton, that the layman person on the street does not have access to. You can talk to your doctor, but can you afford that $100,000 therapeutic treatment? I know what the cost of my medical bills were being in the hospital. I was one of those fortunate ones, Charlton, because I had access to those therapeutics because my insurance would cover that. Just like the current NFL players do also, Charlton. They have access to those therapeutics. So for us mentioning those NFL players who are on the COVID-19 reserve list, think about the number of college players, Charlton, who have been afflicted with COVID-19 who don't have the access to the COVID-19, therapeutics that the NFL players do. So we can all talk to our doctors. But it comes down to what you can afford with that doctor and what he can give you access to.
Well, Trevor Lawrence had COVID-19, the quarterback for Clemson. He's back playing.
You think he does not have an insurance policy to have access to the best therapeutics they are?
I think he does.
Trevor Lawrence went back to Clemson this year. He turned down guaranteed money in the NFL. You think he did not have an insurance policy, Charlton, to cover him against any existing thing that may come up that might be an injury or hinder his future earnings, Charlton? These players, when they go back to college football or basketball, when they don't turn pro, they have an insurance policy that goes anywhere from $30 to $100 million that covers them in any type of injury situation. So that insurance policy would cover those therapeutics that Trevor Lawrence would need. If he didn't have it, you damn sure think Clemson would not pay for it with as much money that he's made for them? Well,
that's what I'm saying. The colleges take care of the college kids. That's why a lot of them rebound when they get COVID. They have to skip a week. Ohio State, LSU, Coach Orgeron said everybody had COVID on LSU's program, and then they're losing. People wonder why they don't win. A lot of people bounce back from it because they get the help, and I hope the help is there. I want to bring this up because you just sparked my mind on something. You and I don't have to agree on things, and that's fine, and that's good. So, Big C News, over 100 House Republicans, they support Trump's baseless claims in the Texas lawsuit to throw out millions of votes, mostly black votes, to invalidate millions of Americans' votes. As most of our black brethren in media, they shut up and they want to play a game, or they want to argue about what player's bigger, stronger, and faster. I will never want to be like that. And when you said that Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump are the ones stopping everything, the people who are stopping everything are the people who failed to vote to kick those butts out of office, Big C. They have a chance coming up in Georgia December 5th. Actually, it's going to be January 5th. January 5th down in Georgia to overtake the Senate. And it's going to happen, but it's not about Trump and McConnell anymore. It's about the people who sit their butts at home watching football, basketball, and baseball, and they think the vote doesn't matter. And so that's the problem. They're the ones who have more power than Trump and Mitch McConnell. And if they didn't, then POTUS would not be in the courthouse being thrown out, if that makes sense to you, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is the racist part of America. You got 17 state attorney generals that file suit against 4 states. I believe it's Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia.
Yeah.
Because those states are heavily black populated.
Yep.
And those black populations voted for Joe Biden.
Yep.
And what the Republican Party, as well as those 17 state attorney generals who filed suit with the Supreme Court, saying that black people do not have the right to vote for white people other than the ones that are Republicans. They don't have the knowledge or the wherewithal to go out and vote against somebody like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump has done more for black people than anybody in American history.
Right.
So if they're not voting for Trump, then their votes are illegal, they're invalid.
Yep.
And we want them thrown out. We want them disenfranchised. We don't want those black people to have a say in America any longer. That's what this is all about, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that white people don't want black people to have a say about what's going on in America.
And as you say, white people, would you believe?
Every one of those state's attorney generals, all 17 of them, that filed that suit with the United States Supreme Court, Charlton, are white. So show me the black person that signed it, and I'll put the black people in there also. But all those state's attorney generals, those 17 that signed that suit led by Texas, are white.
Would you believe that the black vote for Donald Trump went up? Would you believe that?
I'm not talking about that.
No,
about
you're not talking about it, but I'm talking about it.
I'm being specific. Those 17 white state attorney generals that filed a suit with the Supreme Court saying that those black people don't have the right to vote for somebody who is not Republican.
Do you believe that the number of black Americans that are voting for white people to throw out the black vote has increased? Big C, your thoughts?
I'm talking about 17 state attorney generals. The last I saw their pictures yesterday, they were all white. They were the ones names that were on the lawsuit.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the general public voting. I'm talking about the lawsuit that was put in front of the Supreme Court yesterday by 17 white state attorney generals. I'm not talking about the general public that went out and voted. I'm not talking about your vote being cast. I'm talking about the people in the lawsuit.
I'm talking about this. What do you say to those black Americans who are voting for white people to throw out the black vote?
I think we're talking about two separate things. I'm talking about a lawsuit in the Supreme Court. You're talking about a general down ballot that's already been certified.
Yeah, but I still ask you a question. What do you say to black people that vote for white people that want to throw out the black vote? People got to read. It's all fair and love and war. And you got to look at that. It's more than just racism. There's some people that vote for their own demise because they don't read. It's all fair and love and war. But I want to bring up something that I think is almost despicable, because I keep telling you the SEC that you always beat your chest about, they're like the new Jim Crow, Big C. Inside the SEC, which is dominantly by black kids, 80% of those teams are black. In fact, probably 90%, the ones that win, inside the SEC's decision to leave CBS for ESPN for years. CBS has benefited from one of the sweetest deals in sports to get more black kids on TV for free, and they pay a mere $55 million annually to get the SEC's weekly top games of black kids for the SEC championship that's dominated by black kids, at least 90%, in a deal announced Thursday. Agreed to nearly a year ago, the premier package in college sports is leaving CBS for ESPN starting 2024-2025. The exact terms of the 10-year deal were not released through sources, and the agreement is upwards of $300 million annually, a massive increase from CBS, Big C. A key component of the deal will be a weekly SEC game on ABC giving the league a much-desired broadcast platform once again as it leaves CBS to air about 90% of their black athletes who get no money and barely an education, but people brag about how big the stadiums are for exploitation. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think you said something specific in that. You said the premier package in college football is the SEC.
Yeah.
Is that every network has desired to have them on.
More free black labor.
This should be a great open window for the Pac-12 now that CBS won't have a broadcast entity, Charlton, that maybe the Pac-12 could become part of that CBS package.
Well,
this lets you know that ESPN controls the world of sports, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have every major sport in America on their network. If you look at the NFL, they play Monday Night Football on ESPN. You look at the NBA, they play their primetime games on Sunday on ABC Sports, which is ESPN, as well as throughout the week on ESPN. Major League Baseball, I think we just saw the World Series on ESPN. We look at college football, just the whole gamut of it is on ESPN.
Yeah.
But they say that the SEC will be their flagship when it comes to college football. That is the number one property in college football, and they were willing to spend 6 times more money than CBS was spending to have that property on. That tells you how valuable the SEC is in the landscape of college football.
No, it doesn't. It tells me how much they exploit black people. It's a shame that you applaud that garbage, because they're not talking about the education increasing. They're not talking about pumping $300 million in to make sure people get an education. They're talking about pumping in $300 million to a conference that's really dominated by black men, not for them to get a better education, but to get more exploited, Big C. And to me, that's a joke. But you can plot that how you want to.
Answer this one question for me. When was the last week that you turned off college football?
I've been watching it since I was a little boy.
But now I want to ask a simple question. When was the
Let
last
me hold on a second. Equal time. When's the last time you turned it off?
So what you're saying is that you buy into that.
What you're saying is you won't answer your own question. When's the last time you turned off college football?
I haven't watched college football in the last 3 weeks.
So how do you know about it then?
Other things to do.
So how do you know about it?
Sports are a big part of my life, but for the last 3 weeks, I haven't had the time to sit down and watch a college football game. I played college football for 4 years.
So did I.
I was part of that revenue stream. Did I get exploited? Yes. Did I receive finances from it? Yes. Was it a trade-off between me and the university? Yes, it was. I received and they received. I received money beyond my scholarship. So I was pleased with that. So, I mean, if a player has the ability to get more out of the university than what they do just on per facial value, which I knew a lot of guys at my university, basketball and football, that were getting it also.
Sure, everybody does.
It still goes on today.
Yep.
We don't know all the financial compensation that goes to players beyond what we see of the total compensation package that the conference and the universities are getting. But what I'm saying is that everybody who turns the game on is buying into what's going on.
Well, I disagree, because there's no way, because you aimed a question at me that you're doing yourself. Where I think I'm different is I don't sit there and watch a game. Oh my God, this guy's bigger, stronger, and faster. What a world. I think anyone that can listen to our program and over the last 5 years, they can see that I try to, in my own opinion, and you can speak for yourself, I try to elucidate on subjects that are not just sports driven. I try to talk about things that are going to affect people's lives in and outside of sports. But when I see discrimination happen, I don't sit there and say, oh my God, they built a bigger stadium to watch more discrimination of black kids. I don't do that. But everybody has their opinion. I want to throw this to you though. And not that I agree with it, but you either going to be inside of a solution or on the outside looking in. You got to have a seat at the table. The Pac-12, would you believe, they have a conference television deal that does not expire until 2024 like the SEC. The Pac-12 will again be the first conference, listen up young black kids, will be the first conference through the breach of their second major deal. I told you they can change things to get all the bowl teams in, all the conference champions. They're breaching their TV contract. They're not talking to ESPN. They're not talking to Fox. They're not talking to CBS Sports, Big C, that was doing SEC games. The Pac-12 may be the first network to have Apple. Yeah, you know, Apple out of Silicon Valley to broadcast their games, because worldwide, 69% of all people all over the world, they're not getting their sports on TV. They're getting it through streaming, Big C. Your thoughts?
Streaming is a live entity today. Every one of the televisions in my house streams. You can call it live TV or whatever, but it all streams.
It's streaming.
I don't have any cable boxes in my house. So everything in my house comes in on the internet. Every device that I own is connected to streaming, whether it's a phone, whether it's a computer, whether it's a television, and all the televisions are computers technically. So everything is streamed now.
Yeah.
It's not 4 or 5 years down the road. Everything that you get now is streamed.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's our program or whether it's a football game on television.
Yeah.
It's actually streaming.
And I want to close out by saying this, because you asked, when have I stopped watching sports? Like I've been telling black men for about 5 years now, and white men who will listen, but they don't need to. You're always trying to get a job with CBS, ABC, or Fox. If you start doing your own streaming, you create enough content. Maybe you don't start at the top. Maybe you don't make $17 million a show. But as you build your content, you'll start getting paid for your knowledge. So am I watching sports? Yes, I do. Do I watch it to make income? Yes, I do. I have for many, many years, about 30 years now. But streaming gives more black men a chance to put your own programs together and stop begging white people to give you a job and create your own podcast. That's how Big C Sports is different. ESPN laid off 500 people. You know they're going to streaming. So quit begging them for work and create your own platform. That's just my opinion. Big C, final story. I hope that everybody can really understand that we don't want to just be a shut up and dribble. It doesn't benefit anyone to do that. But we got to make sure that people understand what's going on with the elections coming up down in Georgia. It's so important because if they do away with the black person's right to vote, it doesn't matter how many times you yell and scream about who's bigger, stronger, and faster. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it comes down to the ability to have a say-so. Voter suppression is real in America.
Yeah.
And it's still existing today. This is the reason why these cases are brought to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to suppress the vote. They've gotten totally blatant about it now. If you don't vote the way that they want you to vote, then they're going to go out to try to suppress your vote.
That's right.
You're going to see new voting laws come into play after January. What states will be readjusting again. They will take away more voting polls.
Yeah.
They will limit your ability to vote. Because that's the one thing that creates equality in America is voting. But if you make it harder and harder and more difficult to disenfranchise people in America, eventually you will win out. And this is what's been occurring. Because once you take every opportunity away from a person, then they can't combat against you.
Yep.
And that's what voting is. They want to take it away from you so you are no longer a combatant, and you have to succumb to the will of the dominant minority.
And that is very well said, and that's what makes Big C Sports the #1 sports show in the universe. You won't hear that anywhere else, I guarantee it. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, looking forward to an exciting week coming up this weekend in college and professional football. I got to flip a coin to see which game is going to be canceled, so I don't have to worry about watching it, Charlton.
Yeah.
But once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders, for the marvelous job that you do. You never worry about who's on television. You worry about the service that you can give to the American public.
And give all you got to give every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there is no excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.